let's make sense out of this table. So how do you make sense out of this entire table? When I say nitrate or insoluble, means what? Means that all the salt of nitrate are soluble. What do you mean by salt of nitrate? Example. Give me an example of a salt nitrate will be like sodium nitrate. That means nitrate is here and I just need a mister because a salt is a what? Let me write down properly. A salt is a mister and a missus, which means that I have given you the missus, which is your nitrate here. The mister, you can insert any metal. And surprisingly, for nitrate, all the salts of nitrate are soluble. So you can name any metal in front of nitrate and it is actually a soluble salt. So what do you mean by soluble? It means when I add the powder of salt in a beaker of water, they will dissolve in a blinking of an eye as you stir it. Alright? So very simple, right? Okay, makes sense out of this table now. So let's move on to the second one. So how about sulfate here? So sulfate. So instead of nitrate now, I will have a sulfate. Let me write this clearer so that you can see better. So this is missus here. And now I have my sulfate here. So sulfate, all are soluble. So look at your periodic table. Could you name me some metal sulfate? If your answer is, oh, I know, I like sodium, so you keep on mentioning sodium. Yes, you're correct. Can, possible. There are a lot more other metals, okay? Look at the transition metal. Come on, name me some. If you say it's copper, copper sulfate. Okay, very good. Iron sulfate. Very good. All right. So those all for under sulfate all are soluble. Who are the insoluble? Well, there are three: calcium, lead, and barium. Which means if this is calcium sulfate, when I place calcium sulfate in a beaker of water, you will notice that no matter how hard I stir, it's not soluble. Okay, it doesn't dissolve, it doesn't disappear. So that's the meaning of insoluble. Beside calcium sulfate, Pb represent, look at your periodic table, it represents what? Lead. Ba represent barium. So lead sulfate, barium sulfate are all insoluble salt. Okay, so let's make sense out of the next one. Chloride and iodide. Same thing. Let me clean this away. Okay, so Mrs. here, let's say this is chloride. Okay, so all the chloride are soluble except for who? Ag represents silver, Pb represents lead. Alright, so these two are insoluble. Same thing. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Carbonate now. Oh well, carbonate is a little bit more special. You notice over here for carbonates or hydroxide, only group 1 and ammonium salts are soluble. So which means that only metals from group 1. Who are those metals from group 1? Well, I'm going to write it down here. Group 1, we have lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium. If you have your periodic table, you should get this. Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium. Am I right? So all of this carbonate, lithium carbonate is soluble. Name me another carbonate. If you say, oh, I know, potassium carbonate. Yes, soluble. Sodium carbonate, soluble. And similarly for hydroxide, lithium hydroxide also soluble, sodium hydroxide also soluble, potassium hydroxide also soluble. But you will say, but how about other group like copper carbonate? Look, insoluble. So unless you fall under group 1 and ammonium, which means that ammonium carbonate is soluble, except for all the group 1 and ammonium carbonate, the rest are all absolutely insoluble. Did you get that down? Then you say that, oh now, Miss Selena, I know how to use this table. But is this table given in GCE O-level exam? I'm sorry, it's not. So what must you do? You have to remember it. So I came up with a very short acronym to help you remember. First of all, nitrate, simple. All nitrate are soluble. Sulfate here, except for these three: calcium, lead, and barium. So, and of course, chloride and iodide, we have silver and lead. So, I came out with this. Cute little boy singing lullaby. Cute little boy singing lullaby. So, if you can write down cute I almost ran on the screen. Cute little boy sing lullaby. My Q here represent calcium. Okay, so my L here represent my lead, and B represent my barium. Sing represent my silver, and L represent my lead. So is cute little boy singing lullaby. Cute little boy singing lullaby. Write it down one more time. Cute little boy singing lullaby. And Q represent calcium. This represent lead. B represent barium. Sing represent silver. And L represent your lead. Have you got all this down?